The house felt unusually quiet that Tuesday afternoon, the kind of silence that makes the air feel heavier than usual. I had skipped my last class, early dismissal giving me the chance to get home before my parents. My name is Daniel. I was 19 then, finishing my last year of high school, unaware that what I was about to discover would unravel the life I thought I knew. My parents, Martin and Elena, had been married for a quarter century. My father was the embodiment of reliability, an engineer who had built his small construction business from nothing. Hardworking, devoted, loyal, he gave everything to us. My mother, on the other hand, was elegance personified, flawless, commanding attention without effort, a presence that drew admiration wherever she went. And then there was Victor, my father's best friend since college, someone I had always called Uncle Vic. He was part of the family, a fixture in our holidays and birthdays, trusted without question. As I climbed the stairs, I expected to hear the hum of music or the clatter of dinner preparations. Instead, a quietness that felt wrong enveloped the house. Then I caught voices from my parents' bedroom, Victor's unmistakable baritone and my mother's soft tones. At first, I convinced myself it was conversation, normal chatter. But then came the laughter, breathless and intimate, the hushed whispers, the playful shushing. My chest constricted. I froze, one step closer to the partially open door, and there they were, my mother and Victor entwined on my father's bed, moving with the familiarity of long-practiced deceit. My vision blurred, the betrayal crashing over me in waves. I didn't confront them. I didn't shout or gasp. I backed away, heart hammering, hands shaking as I gripped the banister for support. Confronting them in that moment would have been futile. My father would have believed Victor over me. I needed proof. Over the next week, I masked my turmoil, smiling at my mother at dinner, nodding politely at Victor. Every fiber of me was simmering with anger. Finally, I spoke to my mother alone in the kitchen. "I know," I said, voice trembling, eyes locked on hers. "I know about you and Victor, and I'm going to tell Dad." Her reaction was chilling, a smile that wasn't warmth but calculation. "You don't know what you're talking about, Danny," she said smoothly. "And if you do, forget it. Speak and you'll regret it. You'll be sent away to live with your grandparents. Everything you have here will be gone. Don't think your father will believe you. Victor is his best friend. Who do you think he'll side with?" I nodded, outwardly compliant, while my mind raced. I had already begun planning my next move. A few days later, I heard them upstairs again. This time I was ready. I pressed record on my phone before I reached the door. I didn't need video, just voices, laughter, whispers. I stayed long enough to capture indisputable proof, a recording I treated like treasure. The following day I asked my father to meet me for coffee, just the two of us. He agreed, sensing my unease. I slid the phone across the table and pressed play. His expression shifted from confusion to shock to pain. After a long pause he simply stood. "Let's go home," he said, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles cracked. The drive was silent. Back home, my mother was in the kitchen, acting as if nothing was amiss. "Elena," my father said, voice low and dangerous. She turned, smiling, freezing when she noticed his expression. Before she could respond, I played the recording. Her face drained of color, and Victor, clearly invited for dinner, walked in just then. He froze. Without hesitation, my father crossed the room in 2 steps and struck him down, sending him sprawling to the floor. Victor stammered apologies, but my father kicked him out. "If I ever see you near my family again, I'll ruin you," he said, teeth clenched. That night, divorce proceedings began. He told me to pack, we were leaving. Within a week it was official. My mother was left alone in the house. Victor vanished without a trace. She called a few times over the years, crying, apologizing, but I never answered. She had ceased being my mother in that moment. The truth didn't bring relief, it shattered me. But at least my father knew. I had learned that year that sometimes the truth burns everything to the ground, and sometimes it's the only foundation for rebuilding something real. Dad and I started over in a modest apartment across town. It wasn't lavish, but it was quiet and safe. Dinner didn't feel like a minefield anymore. Conversations were free of hidden daggers. Her attempts to worm back into our lives were subtle at first. An aunt called, syrupy and manipulative, asking if I'd forgive my lonely mother. I refused. Then came encounters in public spaces. One Saturday, while grocery shopping with my father, she emerged from between parked cars, perfectly styled and poised. "Martin, can we talk?" she asked softly. He didn't slow down. "There's nothing to talk about, Elena." She tried again, tearful, invoking their years of marriage, but my father's response was firm. "It wasn't one mistake. It was years of betrayal. We're done being fooled." He opened my car door and we drove away, leaving her standing in the lot. Messages and manipulations continued through relatives and neighbors, each story more desperate than the last, but Dad didn't engage. One evening I asked him why. He set down his glass of water and said, "Forgiving her wouldn't rebuild our family. It would just open the door for her to burn us again. I'm done living in a house full of smoke." Months passed. Dad rebuilt his company, returned to the gym, smiled more. A year later he met Laura, warm, grounded, and genuinely kind. Watching them laugh together over coffee, I realized that moving on isn't always about finding someone better. It's about finding peace. As for my mother, she remained alone in the large house, aging far faster than the years should have allowed. But she had made her choice and Dad and I had made ours. We continued forward without her, choosing honesty, trust, and the quiet dignity of a life rebuilt from ashes.